Hi y'all, I'm Brenda with Blessings and Bread. Welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to be making Essence of Orange Muffins. This recipe is part of a video series I'm doing on muffins. And if you have not seen my video on whole lemon muffins, you might want to check that out as well. But both of these recipes that I'm making have come from one of my favorite cookbooks. This is The Pastry Queen, and it's by Rebecca Rather, who owned and operated a bakery in Fredericksburg, Texas in the past, and she put out a cookbook, and I have not been disappointed with any recipe in this book. They're all delicious. Today, though, I'm making a recipe I've not made before, but I'm confident that it's going to still be delicious. So I'm ready to get started, and we're going to make today Essence of Orange Muffins. We're going to begin today by mixing or whisking together all of the wet ingredients. So we're going to start with 1 cup of milk, and it can be whole milk or skim milk, whichever type of milk you prefer. It's going to include 1/2 cup of fresh squeezed orange juice. And I squeezed that this morning, but I think if I made this again, I would just buy some fresh squeezed orange juice. I would not squeeze it myself. And next, it has a 1/2 cup of sour cream. I think this is probably going to make these really have a delicious flavor and be moist, and then give it just that little tartness that we get from the sour cream. And then we're going to add 2 large eggs. And finally, we're adding 1 cup of melted butter. Oh, my melted butter is almost solid again, but I bet it will mix in. It's been sitting here for a while. And now I'm going to mix all of that together. All right, when I get all that mixed together, then next we're going to set this aside, and then we are going to mix together our dry ingredients. So we're going to move that aside. And now I'm going to mix together the dry ingredients. Let me do a little cleanup here. Get some of this out of the way. All right, we're going to begin with a cup, 3½ cups of all-purpose flour. And 1 cup of sugar. I think that's kind of the difference in a muffin most of the time in a cupcake is the amount of sugar that it has. And this recipe calls for 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, but what I have is 1/2 tablespoon measure, which is 1.5 teaspoons. And I'm going to mix that in. And then finally, 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Oh, and I forgot my measuring. My 1/2 teaspoon. I know most cooks would have just guessed, and I'm afraid as a rule follower, I've got to measure. So now I have 1/2 cup, 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Let me double check the flour, sugar, baking powder, and salt. That's all there is. And I need another whisk. So I didn't have my sifter today, so I'm going to whisk those together till they're all mixed together well. If you have a sifter and you want to sift them together, that would work as well. But we want to get that baking powder and salt for sure completely mixed in. And now simply, we're just going to mix our wet and dry ingredients. So I'm going to make what they call a little well. So just kind of in the middle of my bowl, I make a flour. I'm going to make a little impression there, and then I'm going to add my wet ingredients to my dry ingredients. And I'm just going to stir those together gently. That's something you need to do when you're making muffins, is to be sure that you stir gently, or you will get pointed tops on your muffins. Now, it doesn't make them taste differently, but they won't be as attractive if you have pointed tops. And as I said in my last video, I'm kind of famous for having pointed tops at my house. The kids find it quite funny. When you're mixing muffins, we really don't even have to stir till all the flour is incorporated. Just till almost. The recipe suggests that you cook this in a Texas Giant muffin tin. You know what? I'm going to go get my muffin tin and show you the difference. All right, that seems to be mixed fairly well. So now we just need to add these to our muffin tin. So I'm going to set that aside. I've already prepared my muffin tin with by putting little muffin or cupcake papers in there, but you could just grease and flour those if you didn't have these or want to use them. And then I have a scoop that is 1/4 of a cup, and I used this last time I made muffins, and it made them the perfect size. So it is kind of important that you want all of your muffins to be about the same size. So when they bake, they will all bake evenly. And these are filling up about 2/3 full. Well, I think my camera turned off on me now, so I'm not sure what I missed, but I have added the zest, and I am now adding them into the muffin tin. One of the things about this recipe, she said that you could also add fruit to it, blueberries, raspberries, or even dried fruit like cranberries and dried cherries. And so I'm going to try to add just a few cranberries to some of this batter and see where we go and how that goes. I love orange and I love cranberries, and I know they often go very well together. So I'm just going to sprinkle a few of those in there and just try this in the last few of the muffins. I think probably I would have got a full 24 muffins if I had remembered to put my zest in on time, but now I may not get a full 24. We'll see. So I managed to get almost 24. I got 21, and I really think had I not messed up, and because I had to scrape all that batter off of my paper and back into the bowl to add the zest. So I think I lost some batter that way. So I think this would probably make a full 24. But these are going to bake at 350 degrees, and I'm going to start them and bake for 16 minutes and then test them, and then with a toothpick after 16 minutes. I think they'll take between 16 and 18. She was recommending how much to cook them for if you cooked them in a big Texas size muffin, but I think a Texas size muffin is about equal to 3 to 3.5 actual muffins. So these are going in the oven, and then we'll be back and make a glaze for them and glaze them once they're out of the oven. My muffins are out of the oven, and they said to cook them until they were a little bit brown around the edges. And mine are not browning, but I did test them with a toothpick. And so I think they're done for the most part. A few of them act like they want to have some little pointy tops, but for the most part, they're still round. Now, the muffins need to cool in the pan for about 5 minutes. So while the muffins are cooling, I'm going to make the glaze. And the glaze is simply 1.5 cups of powdered sugar mixed with 1/4 cup of orange juice and a teaspoon of orange zest. And I'm just going to mix all of that together while these muffins are warming over here. All right, now we're going to wait for the muffins to finish cooling, and then we will use this orange glaze to glaze the muffins. I have removed the muffins from the muffin pan and transferred them to a wire rack to complete cooling. But while they're still warm, I'm going to go ahead and add some of the glaze or frosting to the top. And I'm just using a little ladle to glaze them with. I put wax paper underneath my wire rack to kind of keep that from spilling onto the counter. So I'm just going to put these on that. I did want to show you that I did have a couple of muffins that sort of got a point on them. It's not a real big point, but more than I would have. This one kind of starting to have a little raised point in the middle. And that's what happens when you overmix. And I know once I had to remove those muffins from the wrapper and add the zest, that was too much for that poor batter. And it ended up giving me a little bit of pointy muffins, but again, they will taste delicious and they will taste the same. I have given the muffins a little bit of time to cool off. They're still a little bit warm, but they're kind of cool, and now I'm ready to taste this recipe. Again, I'd never made this recipe before, but I just know everything in the Pastry Queen cookbook has been delicious. She does recommend that this is a basic muffin recipe that you can add lots of things to. So it's kind of designed so that you can do a lot of different things with this recipe. So I am going to, the frosting is still a little runny because it's still warm, but I decided to try one with the craisins in it. That's very good. I get the orange with the orange zest, and I also get that tartness with the craisin. I really like this with the craisins in them. So very, very delicious. And I know it would be good with blueberries or raspberries. She even recommends peaches. So this is a great basic recipe that you can do a lot of things with. And I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making these muffins, and I'm going to be able to freeze half of them and keep those in the freezer for a while. And I hope to see you the next time I'm in my kitchen, on my porch, or in my garden.